Good evening, everybody. So today you and I are going to talk about noisy, complaining, whining front-end developers. So let's get into it. This is a little bit of a hassle, and this is a little bit of a sore point for myself. And it's a sore point because I have been forced to listen to this every week, or I had to listen to this virtually every Monday for almost every week while I was working at my previous job. And I also had to deal with the fallout of having what I call whiny front-enders. So what is a whiny front-ender? Well, a whiny front-ender is a person who has taken a job at a company of a certain size. Let's just say that they have taken just a job at the company. And for whatever reason, I don't know why, but for some reason they have got it in their heads that if they are the front-end developers, somehow they get a free pass on not working with things they don't like. Somehow we got to the point. I don't know when this happened. I think I know. I think it has to do with this liberal way that we're popping libraries, and how in some magical fashion the front-end developers of the world have decided that just because you add another library, it doesn't matter, right? Just because you want to use one tool and somebody else wants to use another tool, hey, why not just add the thing that you want, right? There's no downside to that. Somehow this is very normal, because what's kind of odd is that I never see this when I do server-side, when I work with server-side colleagues. Somehow people just kind of accept that they have to do things in a certain way using certain tools, because those tools have been most likely carefully selected and placed there by somebody who came before. And somehow they kind of just have this natural way of realizing that, hey, maybe this is the way it works here. Maybe this is the way that it's done here. Maybe it's not the way that I would like to do it, but it's the way that works at this company. Front-enders don't really have this, at least not the ones that I call whiny front-enders, because the whiny front-ender is going to complain about not being able to use the trendy tools, not being able to use the favorite framework, not being able to use their favorite whatever, and they will complain about browser support and stuff of that nature. And see, I can kind of deal with the whiny front-enders and just sigh to myself and kind of go and move on with my day. But what really gets to me is when I am in the unfortunate situation of having to clean up the mess that is left after a whiny front-ender has decided that enough is enough. I should be able to use anything I want, therefore I will simply add it to the stack. I shit you not when I say that one of the first things that I noticed when I started working at my previous job, I just do what I usually do, and I always do that. I go through the dependency, the package JSON, and I went through it. And I found that there was a dependency on jQuery. The first red flag flies off in my head. I immediately search for jQuery references, and sure enough, there are the API calls. jQuery.ajax, jQuery.get, jQuery.post. Sure enough, right? Never fails. And then, to my surprise, I see that further down the dependency list is Axios. Imagine that. I do a search for Axios, and there's a reference to Axios doing a GET request on another part of the system. Okay, I told myself, okay, I can see how this is feasible, because let's be honest, jQuery was used for one animation somewhere as well, so it was not just the Ajax call. And then I go even further down the list and I see a dependency on super agent. There are 3 different library dependencies to do Ajax in the project. Now let me just walk you through what I thought when I saw that. My first thought was, what the hell? My second thought was, okay, let's for the sake of argument just assume that they didn't know about it. Let's say, because it doesn't really make sense, right? Maybe they just didn't know, and I started defending this behavior, this thing. I knew what has happened. I know what's happened, but I'm too nice. I can't just say it. So I want to believe that there was a good reason for this. But there is none. If I'm really honest with myself, the only feasible way that I can perceive this happening, and I actually did check it, it was 3 different people who added these dependencies, as I suspected, which means that either they did not take the time to actually look if they already had support, like they have actually not even checked their own dependencies. They didn't even bother with that, or they did so and they don't care, because hey, what does it matter if we add another library, right? It's just one big file that's going to the client side, right? Who cares about that? This is even before tree shaking, guys. This is when like everything is actually in the code. And apart from these, this is kind of the sickness that I see. I don't know why this is. I don't know why whiny front-enders somehow have decided that they can simply add whatever they want. And that somehow, because the word refactor is thrown around, around quite a lot these days, but not as much as by front-enders. All the time. Every single damn problem I've ever had in a place of work with somebody causing issues with adding more libraries and more dependencies, or like just adding more stuff to the product, is usually comes from a front-ender. And I talked to one of my colleagues about this the other day. I kind of vented. I had a support group. Basically, I needed to speak to somebody about this because I see this trend. It happened today as well, where I see the same mistake being made over and over again. And this time it's getting to the point, like, but at the same time, you don't want to be the person who is like a negative Nelly all the time and tells people that, guys, think this through, please think it through. What you really want to say is, please listen to me. I see what you're doing here and it's not good. Please just listen. Most people don't listen, unfortunately, and I kind of just get fed up with trying to say this. But this is the thing I want to tell these whiny front-end co-workers that I have. Guys, it's not about you. This company does not exist to cater to your whims. If you're unhappy with the tech stack, switch jobs. Don't fuck up the code, or at least behave like a professional. Why do we have this issue? Like, it's not like, I'm just saying, just hear me out now. I'm sorry that I got a little bit upset there, but this is what I will argue to you. This is at least my mindset. The way that I think about things is that I will do the best to my abilities regardless of the situation. Always. Regardless of my circumstances, or rather with the circumstances that I am given, I will do the best that I can. Doesn't matter if it's not the perfect thing. Doesn't matter if it's not my favorite tool. I will make it work. And that is what a real professional should be thinking, as opposed to whining and saying that this is not my favorite tech stack, this is not what I want, etc. Or even, as I said, even worse, trying to force your will upon the project. Because all you're going to do is that you're going to mess up the code for everybody, basically. So it's food for thought, guys. I would say that on average, it's so sad, because I see it's almost the norm. I don't know how this happened, I don't understand why it keeps on happening. I keep on wondering if there's a correlation between this complete neglect of good practices in general when it comes to JavaScript and front-end developers, and that they don't have a background on the server side. Because what's funny is that's not even true. But it can't be 100% true, because I've worked with people who are full stack developers who manage to do this as well. I don't know why we have this trend. I just don't get it. And it used to be the case even before the JavaScript became like this respected thing. Even before I became a programmer, people didn't respect JavaScript as a language, and somehow we are getting there, but we're still not there. It somehow, I don't know why, it's like a switch that flips in people's heads as soon as they switch from the server and go over to the front end. It's like they just switch mindset. Why don't we treat our front end code base with at least the same amount of respect that we treat our server side code? I don't get that, because let's be honest, the front end code is the thing that your user is experiencing. Isn't that pretty much as important as the thing that is actually serving up the content? Maybe not exactly as important, or maybe more important. Kind of depends on your viewpoint, right? Have a great day.